Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the Ingrove in Phoenix, Arizona. Today I'm going to do a video showing you guys the latest purchase for my home stereo system at the house. This is the first piece of gear that I've actually upgraded in a long time, and oddly enough, it is the oldest piece of gear in my system that I'm replacing. And if you look, you'll see what's missing, and that is my AMG turntable. I've loved that table quite a bit over the years, and it was just such a beautiful table, and it was something that I was very reluctant to let go. When I made the switch from the AMG to the Technics SL-1000R, which is the all-in-one new SL-1000, essentially the SP10, I wanted a table that was not only going to be a sonic upgrade and a big sonic upgrade. What drew me to this table was not only the sonic upgrade, but it was a monumental convenience upgrade. I'm a person that listens to a lot of records. Not only do I listen to a lot of records, full, like a normal record is meant to be listened to, but I compare a lot of records, and that involves me going back and forth. Now, there will probably be a point in time where I have two turntables to perform this, but with the Technics, there's nothing easier than taking a record on and off of this direct drive turntable that gets up to speed almost instantaneously, and the convenience factor is huge for me. I have contemplated tables that are significantly higher priced than that. I was looking at a Kuzma, which I'm a huge fan of Kuzma. I'm also a Kuzma dealer as well as a Technics dealer. But to get the maximum out of that, I felt I would need the air suspension on that table. For me, hot swapping records in and out of that would have been more than a pain for me, and I just didn't want to go there, although I love that table, and there's probably a possibility of that in the future. You know, with gear guys, we're always ever changing. But this table is awesome. I've been using it in the store for maybe 6-7 months. I've sold this table. I've installed this table in customers' homes. It is awesome. The use, the convenience, just the usability of it is monumental compared to the AMG. The AMG had the screw-down clamp. It took a while getting up to speed. It has kind of a raised center that actually the lip reforms downward, so it kind of eliminates soft warps, which is kind of nice. But this table is so much more user-friendly. Light years user-friendly. Okay, so this I've actually had on order for a year. Every time I've waited for my table to come in, somebody has bought one of these things from me, and I've had to then give them my table and wait for the next one. This is the first time to where I've actually not sold it and I didn't have to wait anymore. So it's here. Okay. I'm actually going to fit this with a Lyra Etna Lambda cartridge. I'm also a Lyra dealer. These are great, hyper-detailed cartridges. Cartridges, though, I'm not a one-size-fits-all type of user. When it comes to cartridges, I have many cartridges at the house that I use. Everything from Lyra, Ortofon, Audio-Technica. I've got a Benz LPS. I've got EMT cartridges. I've got a lot of cartridges, but this, I'm looking forward to putting on this and being kind of the main cartridge in this setup. Again, very hyper detailed. If you like a hyper detailed cartridge, holy cow, this is it. All right, this is the box it comes in, and as you can see, it is a very heavy box, 52 kilograms, and it is big. There's some special tools and some things in here that are actually designed to help lift and set this thing up. It'll be pretty interesting. I'll show it to you guys when we get to it. Although this is in this double corrugated box, it comes palletized. You really can't get this any other way. UPS, I'm pretty sure this is past the UPS weight limit anyways. Okay, instructions. Read the instructions. I'm not going to read the instructions. I've done this quite a few times already. So we've got multiple cords for multiple countries. What do we got in this box? Okay, so here we've got the handles to lift the platter, different weights, counterbalance, 45 adapter. Put that aside, save it for later. We've got every kind of power cord for pretty much any country that this table would go to. Set this stuff off to the side. Okay, the lid. I love the lid because the lid just rests ever so nicely on top of the table. Pull it off, play your records. This is a lid that, again, is not attached. Pretty much any turntable, they recommend you do not play it with the lid. It acts kind of as a resonator. You know, you start playing music, sound waves catch the lid, and you start getting noise. So let's move that out of the way. Set it there for now. All right. Styrofoam? Anybody? Okay, we have the mat. Comes with a rubber mat. Okay, we got the speed controller, essentially the power supply / speed controller. It has the option of doing both in there. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to do this in one. It is backwards. Although it definitely takes two people to move this box around, one person can set this table up. I mean, I've set this table up as one person. Maybe not everybody. I am actually, for the time being, going to keep this table on the AMG base that I had, the HRS base that I had the AMG table on. This is going to go into the power supply. Set that there for now. Looking good. This particular table, you can add 2 additional tone arms. You can add, they've got some pre-cut boards for some Ortofon and some other brand tone arms, but you can also you can actually buy blank arm boards and have them drilled for whatever tone arm you could probably possibly imagine would go on this. I think if you want to do a larger tone arm, it's got to go on the far left side. I think you could do up to maybe a 9-inch on the back end. Okay. More styrofoam. Power supply. I'm going to put this in the exact same spot I had my AMG power supply, which was far away from the cartridge, you know, cable permitting. All right. So this has a kind of a unique way that it goes on. So they actually come with these custom handles that screw into the platter. Because it's such a tight tolerance that sits on the body of the table, you don't want to be banging this heavy platter into that bearing. All right. That is it for what is inside of the box. All right, now the platter. Wonderful. This isn't a table that I initially thought to myself until I had a lot of experience with it that I thought would ever, just didn't dawn on me like, hey, Mike, think of this as a possible contender for the home system. Like it didn't dawn on me. I had my head set at 40, 50, 60, $100,000 turntables. But I just thought to myself, you know, I could spend $150,000 on a turntable and it's going to be better, but it's going to be fractionally better. But the inconvenience was an issue for me. All right. Easy. Counterbalance. I will set up the existing power supply. I have a cord already pre-run. All right, perfect spot for it. Now it's cartridge setup time. Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to install the cartridge now. I don't know how much of this I'm actually going to show on camera because this is going to be a long and lengthy process. And I don't think people want to actually see the 2-hour process of me getting this thing mounted, getting the VTA adjusted, getting the azimuth adjusted. But I'll show you some of it. Okay, it's been about 2 weeks since I last filmed in this room the unboxing of the SL-1000R turntable. I wanted to spend a couple of weeks digesting the table in my sound room. How did it sound? How is the Lyra cartridge? How does it all gel? How does it gel with the rest of my system? Kind of give you my thoughts, my impressions, and also give you a little more detail on the turntable. You know, I went over a little bit with about the turntable in the unboxing, but the Technics table it's kind of a weird experience for me. 10 years ago, my thought on Technics was I had a lot of great vintage Technics gear. I used it in the showroom at the store, and it was great. But that was the 80s, the early 90s when that last great Technics gear was made. When I got into vinyl in the 2000s, really the only thing Technics was making was DJ-oriented turntables. So really my whole childhood, my whole upbringing, Technics was not a brand I ever thought of as a hi-fi brand. I knew they made hi-fi components, they had in the past, but it wasn't something that I had just consciously thought of as like the pinnacle of high-end. We all have our brands that we kind of think of in the back of our head, and I don't want to name any, but think of the brands, that you would associate with uber high-end stuff, and for me, Technics wasn't one of those, but that was Technics of many years ago, not Technics of today. So it took me a little time to just kind of wrap my head around putting this in my system. That kind of culminated with my hands-on at shows, playing with this thing, demoing this thing, listening to this table, then me becoming a Technics dealer, putting it in the showroom, and just playing it every single day. This is the main table at the store, the table that I listen to for hours every single day. And that's when I really fell in love with this table. And we got 40, maybe 50 turntables at the in-groove that we have on display at all times. And I'm constantly swapping in between those turntables, bringing them onto the main showroom floor to play in the sound room. I'm constantly listening to turntables. But this, for me personally, ticked all the boxes. This was the table that I was in love with, not only because of the way it sounded. It's so rhythmic. It drives the beat so ferociously. It's so rhythmic, but it's so easy to use. And that's kind of been the theme I've talked about in this video, is how easy this particular turntable is to use for my particular lifestyle, for the way I want to use this table. The table's a beast. It's about a little over 80. I want to say it's about 90 pounds. The platter is 17 pounds. It actually has tungsten weights to increase the mass and rotational stability. The tone arm is made of magnesium. It is a bent magnesium. I don't know how they actually get that curvature. I don't think there's any other turntable that actually uses a tubular magnesium design that's actually curved like that. Now, granted, it looks like a traditional 1200 arm, and that's kind of a lot off-putting for a lot of people. But there's nothing other than the overall cosmetic look of it that's similar, that's a component or built from the old 1200. It's a magnesium tone arm. It's got a much tighter tolerance gimbal bearing system. It is also a 10-inch tone arm. It kind of is a little bit deceiving because the table's so big, but your typical 1200 is a 9-inch tone arm. This is actually a 10-inch tone arm. Other than that, it has your traditional configuration that you get with a lot of the Technics tone arms. You've got your VTA adjustment, your anti-skating adjustment, kind of the similar design. You rotate this collar to increase or decrease the height of the tone arm. Anti-skating, very similar to other Technics tone arms. Oddly enough, this table does not come with a head shell. It doesn't come with a cartridge, but that's very common. But it doesn't actually come with a head shell. But like I stated before, they recommend an Ortofon head shell right out of the box. It was easy for me. I'm an Ortofon dealer. It was easy for me to go through multiple cartridge head shells, try them out, find out the one for my liking. That was easy. The footers on this thing, fantastic. They isolate so well. And I put it right on this HRS base, which was kind of a requirement for the AMG turntable. I don't even think that's a necessity here, but I have it. I might as well use it. Uh, you know, it works flawlessly. It's beautiful. It functions beautiful. The motor itself is a coreless design. You get absolutely no noise whatsoever on this table. It is amazing how quiet this turntable is. This thing is CD digital quiet when it comes to background noise. It is mind-boggling how quiet this thing is. One of the things that it's taken me the longest amount of time to just wrap my head around it, how quiet this particular turntable is. The wow and flutter on this table is like non-existent. Technics said it's pretty much measurement-wise into the realm of the unmeasurable. So the wow and flutter is almost non-existent. The turntable noise is almost non-existent, and because of it, it just plays so quiet. In the store all the time, I'll get talking to customers. We're talking about turntables. And, I get a lot of average turntable buyers in the store, or turntable buyers, I should say, that are just getting started. Not uber audiophiles buying high-end tables, but just the average LP consumer. I'm playing records, and we get to talking, and they're like, okay, can you put a record on? And it's like, well, we're listening to a record. And their mind is just blown. Well, where's the noise? Where's the surface noise? Where's the pops? Where's the clicks? I don't hear it. This isn't a record. I'm like, no, this is a record. Like, look. And their mind is blown because so many people have never heard a table this quiet. So it's fun. In the store, it's very fun to be able to blow people's minds like that. What a turntable is capable of. How quiet it can be. How dark and black the backgrounds can be. It's an amazing sounding turntable. Now, there is probably going to be some upgrades I make to this table in the future by adding additional tone arms. You can put, again, 3 tone arms on this turntable. I will probably attempt to move, I don't know, I'm going to try it out. I'm probably going to do a Kuzma tone arm on this table at some point. You can buy blank tone arms, arm boards. You can have them drilled. Where that lives on this table, main position, side position, back position, I don't know. I'm not that far yet. You can't buy this particular, I don't believe you can buy this particular tone arm by itself. Otherwise, it might be something where I would have just maybe possibly added one of those, but I don't know if that's a possibility. I don't think it is. But I'll play around with it. I'm also contemplating getting a second one. For shootouts, it would be so easy for me to just have 2 of these turntables in place, hit a button, boom, switch A, B, back and forth. I could do shootouts so brilliantly. But the fact that this table gets the speed extremely quick, it's so much easier for me to be able to do shootouts now on this turntable versus the AMG. The cartridge has been fantastic. It is so detailed. Lyra cartridges are very detailed, but sometimes detailed cartridges, you're sacrificing, I don't want to say listenability, but I'll say listenability. They become overly detailed, bright, and just fatiguing. This is not. This is not a fatiguing cartridge. It's very, it's a very warm and like inviting cartridge, but with that hyper detail. So it's kind of like everything. It's everything you'd want. I find a lot of cartridges are going to excel in one area versus the other. This has been kind of an epiphany for me because it really does everything fantastic. It doesn't really have any weaknesses I can find yet. And one of the true testaments to a piece of gear in my system, when I upgrade, I go back and listen to the same records. When I start listening to my demo records, and my first thought is, I wonder what that record sounds like on this new system. And then I get it and I'm like, wow, what is this record going to sound? So when I find myself doing that repetitively, like I actually did with this turntable, as time goes on, I think to myself, well, I made a good decision. That was a good choice. If I'm not, this is me personally, if I'm not doing that, that's generally not a good sign. But between the cartridge, between the turntable, it's just been bliss. I've grabbed records. Me and the kid came down here, listened to records. You know, I find myself in this room more because it is just so easy to turn the system on, pop a record on, and fire off, and we're going. It's truly been enjoyable. The turntable is built so fantastically well. I mean, just look at it. I mean, it looks impressive. Now, for me personally, I'm probably going to put a 1200G in a second system. I really love the G as well. It's got a similar sonic signature as this particular table. It's built not as rugged, of course. It's $4,000 versus $4,300, but it's a lot of this table. It really truly is. When you go down to the 1200 GR2, you again maintain the sonic signature, but you're losing the overall heft, the girth, the build quality of, I think, the 100 or the 1000 and then the 1200G. They're great sounding tables. I actually have one in the store now. I just demoed for a customer. It's amazing how good that sounds for the price. It's mind-bogglingly good for a little over $2,000, and I know that $2,000 is a lot of money, but when you think about kind of what you can get turntable-wise for $2,000, seriously consider that 1200 GR Mark II. It's bomb. But when you compare the 1200 GR Mark II to the G, you kind of notice like what you're getting. There's a big improvement. And a lot of the girth, the build quality, and the cosmetic nature of that is carried over to here. Or I should say maybe the other way around. This is carried down to the 1200G. So I think I'm going to do the 1200G in a second system. I've got so much time on this table now between the store, between installing it at customers' houses, now having it in my own system. It's fantastic. I mean, I'll give you guys some maybe farther down the road reports. Maybe I'm gearing up to do a complete system video showing you guys everything that's changed as of recently. But this has been a very fun upgrade in my system. Every upgrade is fun in your system, but this is the only upgrade I've had in my system that makes my life easier. You know, makes the function of listening to records so much easier, so much more pleasurable. It's been great. Come on down to the shop if you're in Phoenix, theingroove.com. If you're not, I've got it on demo. You can listen to it. You can fondle it, touch it, feel it, see what it's all about, talk about it. All right, guys, theingroove.com. Until next time.